BBC Three is pushing anti-English propaganda again. Last night I was scrolling through my social media and BBC Three popped up somehow. I'm not sure entirely why. I unfollowed BBC Three a long time ago. But this came up and it's a video about the English flag. Now, the World Cup's going on. I don't know much about the World Cup. I'm not interested in football at all. But I do know it's cool seeing the English flag everywhere. But there's a video from the BBC Three that... well, it argues, or at least gives platform to a person who argues that the English flag is really terrible. And I figured I'll take a look at this on camera and see what we think of it.
Please stop flying that terrible flag everywhere.
My name's Callum. I'm here to argue in favour of the England flag.
Did you notice, by the way, that they had to get a guy in the background with a skinhead and try and choose somebody? The guy's actually really well spoken immediately from the sounds of it, but they've got a guy that looks like the real standard, horrible English patriot, skinhead, horrible person.
I cannot for the life of me see why our national flag should not be flown by a great majority of good, honest and decent people of this country, and I feel some people have an agenda to stop this.
You see the way the guy is giggling? He's sat there giggling. Some people have an agenda to stop this and he's sat there giggling. Well, he's not going to deny this because he's about to tell us all the terrible things about the English flag, and he is one of the people who is a part of the agenda to stop this. I hate that smug attitude of these people on the left. There's a lot of people on the right that do it as well, and especially the alt-right. They're very smug, self-entitled, giggling when someone opposes something they say, rather than having a reasoned response, and I very much doubt we're going to get anything reasonable from this guy.
We shouldn't relinquish the St. George's Cross and be demonised in our patriotism for doing so.
There's a kind of arrogance that ignores
He's claiming he's arrogant. Really?
What this flag has been used for and the history of actually its usage in this country. We remember the National Front flying the St. George's Cross.
Oh, I see. So the National Front flies the St. George's Cross. That makes it racist, of course. Well, the National Front used to drink in pubs as well. Crap, I guess I've got to stop going there. Pretty sure the National Front wore Doc Martens as well. That's another one off the list. I think they wore jeans. That's another one. Skinheads are a no-no as well because the National Front used those. The National Front also breathed air.
And really, this flag has come to represent something like the Confederate flag in America.
Nothing to do with the Confederate flag at all.
Where it's a very narrow, very white, very English nationalism.
Well, I'm very sorry that the majority people of England are white, but every country's got a native people and we happen to be white. Sorry.
And if I see this flag on a pub, it means to me, don't go in.
If you see the English flag on a pub, go in. Go in, have a pint, and I bet you the people in that pub are a million times nicer than the kind of people that you'll meet in some central London hipster bar. Trust me.
So we can't just ignore the fact that this flag has been adopted by the far right, and that is why it is actually quite exclusive.
But do you not think that by allowing such a small minority of the country to take this flag off a large proportion of the country who feel very strongly that is their flag, I think it's very oppressive.
Does not compute, does not compute. I thought the whole point of the left was not judging people by a small minority, and then suddenly a small minority used the English flag, and everyone who's using it is propagating racism. I mean, this is the hypocrisy of these people, and he's got the cheek to call this nice, pleasant young lad arrogant when he sits there giggling as he says something entirely reasonable.
It's quite insidious to take the flag off so many people. It didn't have any of those connotations beforehand.
Well, actually, did it not have any of those connotations when they were flying this flag during the Crusades and going around through Muslim countries?
Well, it's true. Actually, the flag does come from the Crusades. I believe the St. George's Cross has got origins from the 12th century. In the Middle Ages, it became connected to St. George, and it's connected to the Crusades. It was used in the Crusades. But let's not forget, the Crusades were not some kind of immoral just war that took place because of oil or something like happens these days. The Crusades were a moral war, or a series of moral wars, basically responding to Islamic aggression. These were wars to protect innocent Christians. This wasn't a crusade where people just went into other countries and raped and pillaged and destroyed. These were a moral war, but of course history and facts mean nothing to the left.
Trying to convert them. Did Englishness not have these things when they were flying it, when they were trying to enslave my ancestors? Did it not have these connotations when it was flown around the colonies? There's a reason why the English flag has been picked up by the far right. It isn't just this tiny minority.
The quote-unquote far right use the English flag because they're English. In Sweden, the quote-unquote far right use the Swedish flag. And guess what the quote-unquote far right use in America? You guessed it, the American flag.
British cultural identity is not based on the Crusades. It's, in fact...
For some, it definitely is, actually. I think this war against Islam, the war against... that's still there.
It's still there because that ideology is literally raping our children, transforming our legal structure, and changing society as we know it.
The real question is, why do you feel so connected to this flag? I mean, it's just it's a flag. If you understand the history of this flag, and you understand why it's so offensive to millions of people in this country, just pick a new symbol.
Oh, thank you, Gahinde. We'll just pick a new symbol. Thanks for telling me and every other English person out there that we shouldn't be connected to our own flag. Thank you, Gahinde, for your reason, your knowledge, and your wisdom. You know, it's not like this flag has been connected to St. George since, I don't know, the Middle Ages. It's not like this flag has been connected to the English people for generations. You know, this is something we feel strongly about. And when you tell us to pick a new symbol, pick a new flag, I think Gahinde here knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's not just changing a national symbol. He knows he's not just changing something that might appear on the odd pub. He knows that he's changing something that is deep within the English psyche. He's changing a part of our own souls. And that's the goal of the far left.
Why does it have to be this particular flag?
What would be your proposition of a new symbol then? Would you just ditch the England flag?
Well, I mean, I'm probably the worst person to ask. What is Britain? What is this idea of empire? And
empire, we've come a long way since empire. I think this country is built now on inclusivity, freedom of speech, respect for the law.
I am actually quite surprised that I didn't turn around. I think I showed quite a lot of self-restraint, which is not usual for me.
Your accusations of empire and the Crusades to normal people sound frankly ridiculous.
He looks like a skinhead, but he's nothing like what they probably expected him to be. He's totally true, and the connotations of empire, crusades, all these things, whether you argue they're right or wrong, have got nothing to do with normal people today. The English flag represents who we are. We're not going to be changing it anytime soon. Trust me. Put this to a national vote. People will not vote for it. And if try and do it stealthily, try and do it without a vote, there will be uproar. This kind of stuff is nothing that surprises me, especially from BBC Three. I did a documentary with BBC Three once called Is Britain Racist? They told me it was a documentary about British culture, and suddenly they made it all about race. And at the end, this Mona woman, who's now on the comedy circuit, which I just find hilarious because she's not funny and she's not a comedian, Mona Salami, something like that. She's now on the circuit, and she just ended the documentary by saying, oh, well, Jack refused to accept that I was British, which is, watch the documentary for yourself, is not what I said. BBC Three really needs burying at this point. It's really dreadful. The only good thing to come out of the BBC Three is a really good show called This Country, which is about these teenagers in Norwich, but by the by, watch it, it's funny. At this point, the BBC really shows what kind of institution it is. It's no longer the anti-Beeb that we used to know. The BBC is a propaganda machine, and I would advise you to go through the legal route of stopping paying for it. I don't pay for the BBC, I don't watch the BBC, and neither should you. If you like that and want to see more, remember to like and subscribe, or download the Rebel app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store.